If you want to say that a few people are timid, I'm afraid that they have already peed their pants at the moment. Just like Director Gene, he is most afraid of this matter. At this moment, he squatted on the ground and hugged the table legs, shouting incessantly. God bless. Zhao Wenbing couldn't take care of it anymore and shouted into the courtyard. Don't panic. If you want the village to be safe in the future, all of them will stay. And if you still want to die, just leave. I don't care. Whose turn will be next? No one knows. This time shout out. The scene was a little quieter. He shouted again. Don't mess around. It's a flashlight. Light the lights. Let's light a fire in the middle of the garden. It's a critical moment. It's still the village chief who works. This lord today. He has to do it if he doesn't do it. I immediately found someone to do it. Several bonfires were lit. Look at the crowd again. There are trembling. There are gnashing teeth. Weeping again. The fire shone on Zhao Wenbin in the middle. A robe sparkled. What about him at the moment? It is the savior in the hearts of many people. Zhao Wenbin glanced at everyone. Opening. I could have left it alone. If I go, there will be a lot of goods in this village in the future. I can get through tonight. I will keep you safe for 3 years. Everybody stays together. Stay here. I promise nothing will happen tonight. If someone goes back, there will be nothing you will encounter on the way. I don't know. After speaking, he waved his sleeve. Turning around, he entered the hall where only 4 sleeping lamps remained. He deliberately half dissuaded and half frightened by this sentence. There is no way to do it. But the deception did work. The village chief said to everyone, Bagua is a person from our village. Could it be that it can still harm us? Listen to the scumbag. There he is. It's okay. Not for anything else. Just at the doll. Let's help people too. He deserves to be the head of the village. The brain spins fast. Then the dismantling man brought the doll. Let him kowtow to everyone 3 times. This is a combination of hard and soft. And no one is leaving. What about the faint of heart? I had to bite the bullet and memorize it. Otherwise, whoever runs away again. That must have been laughed at by the people in the village for a lifetime. After Zhao Wenbin entered, look at the 4 flickering long cotton lamps. A horizontal heart. Since you want to give it to Shamawi like this, don't blame it. He took out the great seal of the Heavenly Master's righteous path. Attached cinnabar. Each coffin lid snapped. It's a big seal. Put a large seal on the coffin. Don't say it's the first time he's experienced it. I'm afraid that the whole Taoist family is the first to suffer. This great seal was mentioned earlier. It is the master of Maoshan's stolen gold. The Maoshan Great Seal that was passed on to Lin Jingyang in private. Suppressing imps should be an artifact. After pressing, the Great Seal was not returned. Zavin held up a bench. Put the big seal towards the coffin inside. It's strange to say. It didn't take a few minutes for this big hard steel to be pressed. Suddenly, my eyes lit up. Here comes the electricity. The whole house is back to its previous state. The people outside watched as the electricity came. It was also a sigh of relief. In the dark of the night, lights are more secure than anything else. Especially in this place. Zhao Wenbin saw the electricity coming. It's also a sigh of relief. Greet relatives outside. Hurry on in. The incense of the incense. Burning paper for burning paper. Kowtow of kowtow. A few daring ones. The first is coming. There's nothing wrong with burning it. One after another, people came in. Wang Wei was brothers and sisters. I started crying too. In the meantime, the Zaman soldier stared at the 4 lights. He understood. As long as the light is not extinguished, there won't be any mess. If the lights go out, that means I won't be able to survive tonight. The last person finished the incense. Zhao Wenbin glanced at Curator Jean, who was sitting in the corner with his head bowed. Let him come up again. Do it all over again. I have to say, This gene curator is really a million unwilling in his heart. I am afraid that I will be entangled in the future. I had no choice but to do it. This time, Zawinbin saw the moment when Curator Jean finished putting on incense. The 4 sleep lamps shook almost at the same time. It quickly returned to normal. Called Director Zhao over again. Let him wait a little later at night and stand next to the chief of the Golden Pipe. Don't go anywhere. Director Zhao agreed and took the chief of gold to the courtyard. I found someone and sat down, smoking a stuffy cigarette. Zhang Wenbin is also rare to take a break. So he found a stool and sat in front of the door. He thinks of himself as a doorman. I sat down until 12 o'clock. Don't wait for the old reminder. Zhang Wenbin stood up on time. I helped my clothes. Stride through the door. The person who signals the crying bell to stop. 12 o'clock in the evening. It's the middle of the day. The moment when the yin energy is at its heaviest. It is also the easiest for the living. The moment of contact with the dead. But where the great French? It's all done at this time. Zhao Wenbin glanced at it. The celestial master talisman is firmly attached to the wall. Firmed his eyes. Swing your back. Take out the evil spirits. Carrying the 7-star sword on his back. I glanced at the big seal that was on it. Still didn't get it. He took relatives of the Wang family. It is better to divide according to the left of men and the right of women. Each of them stood on either side of the hall. It was supposed to be this time. It's going to the great refining customs. It's all done early now. Not right now. After standing, she motioned for the women to line up, circling around 4 coffins. The man is in the circle outside the woman. Female clockwise. Male counterclockwise. Make a U-turn every 3 turns to change direction. She also followed in the middle, ratching the bell while circling. There are still words in his mouth. It's all excess. 6 laps complete, and it is appropriate for all to withdraw. Originally, I was going to take the ferry bridge. Look at the 8-year-old doll. In case it's time to cross the bridge, was taken away by his parents. That's it. Zhao Wenbin dispelled this thought. But the bridge is there. He then took a handful of glutinous rice, a handful of tea leaves, place in a bowl, and stir to combine. Sprinkle every corner of the room. Ready to stop. If nothing goes wrong, it should be fine. Get ready to go out for a cup of tea. Take a break. Before he could walk out the door, suddenly, there was a burst of madness. Zayden's nature is not good. He drew the sword from his back. Turn around and look. It's too late. For sleep lights, the one in the middle who defends the kingdom, it is already extinguished. The remaining 3, in a weak state. It's about to be destroyed. Zaven's hands fell. Whoosh. A talisman was thrown. Unequal means to land. The 7-star sword flashed with cold light, pointing straight to the coffin in the middle. The charm fell to the ground and caught fire. The 3 lights are like a home tour. Lit up again. Just a wick in the middle. Only a trace of green smoke remains. It's still floating. Zavenbing shouted. Stupid. It's another soul suppression service. Fly straight to Wang Weigua's coffin. It seems that this desperate gate has left his door god. It's still a bad thing. Wang Weigua has become a ghost instead of a ghost. It's just that Shang is currently in the house and hasn't gone out. Zhao Wenbin didn't dare to be careless. This lord must be in a rage right now. The people outside the door looked at the Taoist priest inside, and suddenly this happened. They all went over to see what was going on. After Zhao Wenbin made a mistake approaching. Closed the door. He wants to take Wang Weigua. This man with a dead heart turned into a terrible ghost. Most of the time it's not that fierce. Just today, except. Although Wang Weigua is a Zhuang family, but for a long time lived in the land of despair. Plus the whole family. Resentment was raised. It actually broke through the fear of the Great Seal. If you let it out today, it will inevitably lead to catastrophe. Zhao Wenbin knows why. Close the door. The smell of blood gradually became stronger again. It seems to have penetrated into every pore of Zhao Wenbin. At that time, there were no floor tiles in rural homes. Rich people used cement in their homes. But most of the homes are still muddy. Zhao Wenbin is holding the 7-star sword. It was inserted directly in front of Wang Weiguo's coffin. The sword trembled, as if to tell the Lord in the coffin how excited he was at the moment. He took out another bronze mirror with gossip engraved on the back. It was placed on the stool that used to cut the Great Seal. The mirror shines on Wang Weiguo's coffin. It seems to be a bit of a fade meaning. Don't care about this change. Zhao Wenbin in the shortest possible time. A small figure was tied with yellow paper. Put it on the ground. Write Wang Weiguo's birthday on the back. Placed on his coffin. The next step is to find the ghost. Zhao Wenbin took out the compass. Look at the pointer jumping station above. Soon the pointer stopped at the northeast corner. I pinched my hand. Tap above each of your eyelids. This is called opening the eyes of the sky. Zhao Wenbin after opening the eyes of heaven. Sure enough, I found Wang Weiguo who was squatting in the northeast corner. Covered in blood, he was staring at himself. How to open the eye of the sky. In addition to the need to rest the corresponding countdown, you also need the same medium. There are quite a few animals in nature. It is the ability to see things that are not seen by man. For example, in the middle of the night, in an empty village, a dog's bark rang out. No matter how much his master persuaded him, he would not listen. The dog barked and retreated. But the direction of the lungs is always somewhere where we look at nothing. In this case, most likely it sees something that you can't see. Zhao Wenbin used cow tears to open his eyes. In the past, oxen wept before they were to be slaughtered. The cattle butcher will make an inch knife. It's a little smaller than the current fruit knife. Stroking the firmest piece of meat at the back of the cow's neck. Touch and touch. The ox will fall to its knees on all fours. A bag bulges around his neck. Then the cow will burst into tears. The butcher inserts the knife into the bag. The cow died with a whimper. It is said that this cow is human. Knowing that he was going to die, that's why I knelt on the ground and wept. This tear is the purity of the world. You can see all the hidden evils. So it will be collected by Taoists. It is used as a medium to open the eyes of the sky. It's just that the corresponding time is limited. Zhao Wenbin can open the eye of the sky. It's also at the time of a stick of incense. Wang Weiguo is here. In fact, it has gone beyond the concept of soul. A ghost born purely out of resentment. At this moment, he is also staring at Zhao Wenbin, but he seemed to be afraid of the Great Seal and the sword. Don't dare to make a move. Zhao Wenbin holds a compass in one hand. Draw your sword. Pedal the 7-star steps. In the blink of an eye, you are in the northeast corner. Wang Weiguo, who was squatting, suddenly stood up. Before Zhao Wenbin could make a move. Straight to the gate. It looks like he wants to escape. Not yet halfway through the coffin. A Lunine mirror on a stool. The golden light shook suddenly. It was as if the ghost had been bounced. Fell to the ground. At the moment when Zhao Wenbin walked past, this thread was already struggling to get up. Don't miss the opportunity. Zhao Wenbin quickly took out the blessing with his left hand. Swept over the sword. A beam of fire slashed up the head of the sword with a burning celestial master suit until the face of the throne. Just a moment of bayonets. It was already a kingdom of flesh and blood. Bow your head. Happened to dodge the blow. Zhao Wenbin waved his hand to fight. Wang Weiguo raised his head. In the eyes. I don't have the strength I had just now. It's a little scary. Then the first drop. It turned out that Wang Weiguo painted a terrible ghost. It's kowtowing to him and begging for mercy. Seeing Zhuang, Zhao Wenbin sighed and said, Alas. It is the soul of unjust death. I don't want to exert too much force. That's why he turned into a ghost. In less than 3 years and 5 years, or deterioration into a fierce spirit, or damned out of one's wits. As a matter of fact, it's a way to cut off your own reincarnation. For thou hast broken thy way of life today. I can only give you a ride. Suffering from the reincarnation of the third animal, before they can be reincarnated as adults. Would you like to? The demon seemed to understand. Glanced up at Zawinbin. Twisting his neck again, glanced at the other 3 coffins. Bow your head. No more action. Zawinbin put down his sword. Pick up the little paper figure placed on the coffin. Recite the mantra of the past life. Around Wang Weigua, who was kneeling on the ground. Went around in a circle. Throw the paper figure into the air. Gulped. Phew. I saw the paper figure swaying and floating down. It happened to fall directly in front of Wang Weigua, and the paper figure is standing. To know. He's just a plain piece of yellow paper. Wang Weigua on the earth. It seems to know his fate. Keep your head lower. Zawinbin was next to him again. I took a stick of incense and lit it. One hand holds a pin and chew spirit. Incense in one hand. There are words in the mouth. The inner chest burned faster and faster with the spell in his mouth. After a while, the smoke coming out of the inner box did not drift up, but went to the men of the earth. At this moment, Wang Weigua's figure is becoming more and more blurred, until he finally disappeared into the hall. When the last trace of incense in Zavin's hand was extinguished, the finger fell to the ground with a thud. The direction of the fall is exactly where Zavin is standing, and it's a forward fall. It was as if he was giving the last salute to Zavinbing. Zawinbing carefully picked up the paper figure, sighed, gently tossed it into the paper-burning brazier. Just when Zavin was about to stop, suddenly, there was a loud banging on the door. Before he could get across, the door had been slammed open. There was a bunch of old men standing outside. They all stared inside with wide eyes. Director Zhao stepped over with an arrow, looked around Zawinbin. Zawinbin asked, "What's wrong?" Director Zhao still didn't answer. He took another closer look at the corners, and then it was said, "We just heard it outside." There were men's cries inside. The doll said it was his father's. "Ford's coming in. We've been watching the door from the outside." No matter how you look at it, there is no response. Everyone is afraid that something will happen to you. Began to bang on the door. Crashed for a long time. "I can't knock this door open." The cry grew louder and louder. Finally, there was a loud cry from inside the room. "We're pushing hard." The door opened. "Zawinbin, are you okay?" Zawinbin glanced at the people who were panting outside. Glanced at He Lao again. He Lao nodded to him. Zawinbin said, "It's okay. What you have heard tonight is nothing but hallucinations. Don't take it seriously." Go ahead. Strode out the door. Found a large tea jar. Drink it all. After wiping his mouth, found a man squatting under the base of the wall. Take a closer look. It turned out to be Curator Kim. Zawinbin leaned down. "I want to ask more." Suddenly, I smelled a smell of urine. Curator Jean raised his head. I saw that it was Zawinbin who came out. I was about to go up and hug his thighs. Was let out of the way by Zawinbin's retreat. Zawinbin shouted, "Chief, take Curator Jean out and wake up. And let people who can't afford to stay up late. You can go home and rest first." In the laughter of the crowd, Curator Kim cried with a sad face. He was led to his home by the village chief. "I found a set of old clothes to change into. When he comes back, it's almost dawn." Of course, during this period, in order to prevent accidents, Zawinbin has not left the throne country for half a step. Stay up until the first rooster crows. His eyes were already red, but he didn't have time to rest. The next step is to go to cremation. The hearse is already waiting at the entrance of the village, just waiting for them to set off. Each coffin was carried by 2 men. These men are all Zhao Wenbin's calculations of the 5 elements in their lives. They are all hard-nosed people. To carry this coffin of death, there was also a big rooster tied to each coffin. The person who drove in front of him struck a gong. When Bing shouted, "Rise!" 8 people carried 4 coffins. Follow the shaking of evil spirits. Behind Zhao Wenbin, who was scattering paper money, didn't take 3 steps. The man who followed the people of Taiguan. Just use willow branches. Just pull the waist of the Taiguan person once. It was drawn until the 4 hearses stopped at the entrance of the village. Under Curator Kim. It's like pretending to be an animal. After the coffin is loaded, Zhao Wenbin instructed the Jin Pavilion chief and the village chief again. Pull to the crematorium after that. Don't park. Burn it directly. How dare Director Jin not listen? Nod your head like a chicken. He asked weakly. Mr. President, do I still use it? Zhao Wenbin shook his head and said, No need to come back today. When to come? I'll let you know. Let's go back and rest first. Within 7 days. Don't kill. Don't rejoice. Don't even touch your wife. Go to the vegetable market and buy a carp. Put it in a nearby river. Naturally, you will be notified in a few days. Go ahead, turn around, and asked Wang Xing to kill the 4 roosters on the spot. The chicken blood not is full of 4 large bowls. A little chicken blood was placed on the forehead of each person who carried the coffin. Tell me to go back to the shower later. But don't wash off the blood. He also asked Wang Xing to sprinkle the remaining chicken blood around the entrance of the village. I went back to rest for a while. The mourners returned from the county. It was Curator Jean who chartered a bus to send it back. It was already noon. Zhao Wenbin has already taken the villagers with him, waiting for a long time at the entrance of the village. Curator Kim spent most of the money this time, for good mahogany urns. They were carried out in turn. The 8-year-old doll cried and had a face, holding his father Wang Weigua at the forefront. He was followed by some nephews, holding the remaining 3. This situation is inevitably hurtful. Many people also cried. After 3 firecrackers, Zhao Wenbin shook his collar, shouted. He walked ahead to open the way. Led everyone to the ancestral tomb of Wang Wei's country. This tomb is quite simple to repair. Wang Weigua's father was buried with his mother, who had passed away for many years. Wang Weigua and his wife. Follow the little girl and bury it slightly below. The soil is the best luss. I only hope that these 4 people can settle down in this place. Die sooner. It's already noon when you're busy. The morning procession descended the mountain. Had the last meal at Wang's house. During the banquet, people kept coming to toast to Zhao Wenbin. One by one, he blocked them. He really didn't have the heart to drink. Everyone else is fine tonight. He also had to make up for the village. Ask God. Will this poor little village be able to live peacefully? After the meal, Zhao Wenbin asked the village chief to call the relatives of the Wang family. It means that the house was demolished. All the timber was burned on the spot. No more houses can be built here. After talking about the power of it, what happened last night? There were also quite a few people present. Just pity the kid. I'll have no home in the future. By the way, everyone summed up the issue of raising children. In the afternoon, a group of laborers will take Wang Weigua's ancestral home, reduced to ruins. Many years later, the adults of Wangshuang did not dare to let their own children go to that piece of land and play again. Afternoon, when Bin and He Lao also have Director Zhao. I slept again. I slept until dark and didn't wake up. Said goodbye to Wang Xing's family. I went to the entrance of the village under an old locust tree, sat on the ground with He Lao and Director Zhao, drinking a little wine with peanuts. Just wait for the right time. This locust tree should be remembered. Don't plant it in front of your own home. The locust is composed of a wood and a ghost. It means to hang a ghost. It is a thing that is easy to attract evil spirits and gathers evil spirits. Jin. But in the eyes of the Taoists, it's also the psychic bull's choice. Zonbing is to wait until the time of the child, the time of the day when sin is cloudy. Choose the most shady tree alley. With the power of the Big Dipper, ask the heavens once. The wind by the river made the three of them slightly drunk. Director Zhao wants to apprentice with the strength of wine, was verbally rejected by Zhao Wenbin. The reason is that Director Zhao has a good job. You don't have to do the hard work. Director Zhao is willing to listen. In the past few days, he has already admired Zhao Wenbin. If it weren't for He Lao to stop him, he knocked down a few times. In the end, Zhao Wenbin had no choice. I thought of a way to say, you wait until the hour. If only it could be under this locust tree. Sit alone for half an hour. You can apprentice. If you can't hold on, don't mention it again. Director Zhao thought for a moment. Isn't it just here to enjoy the shade? What's the big deal? Full of promises. This has come. Zhao Wenbin glanced at the stars in the sky. Lift the turtle shell and throw it away. Get a hanging. Chop down the town. Thunder hydrolysis. This hangs as. The knot is scattered. Out of danger. The evil dissipated. Pre-delivery is visible. Co-cut in. Ask the murderer. It's a good thing. This month. Zhao Wenbin finally, for the first time, smile. He Lao saw that the hexagram had come out, asked about the result. Zhao Wenbin hit. Wang Shuang within 3 years. No one will return to heaven again. He Lao faced Zonbin, defeated by defeat, was stopped by Zhao Wenbin. How can you afford the gift of He Lao? Isn't this thin? He Lao waved his hand. Wenbin. Wangshuang was originally my wife's hometown. Innocent involves you in. Do something sinister. I'm defeated. It's for the whole village. You can afford it. I can afford it. Zhao Wenbin replied to Ili. For a few days, I've been bothering He Lao to take care of it. Basic necessities of life. There is no bad hospitality. I'm ashamed to say it. I don't learn. Failed to save his wife's life. I hope that He Lao will forgive me. After saying that, he bowed again. The river over there is already old tears. I must have thought of Madam again. He wiped his tears and crooked. Wenbin, what's next? Zhao Wenbin glanced at the starry sky above his head. To the sky. Oh my God. You are single-minded. My old bones. If only Brother Jacques could use it. The old decay must do his best. About the matter of wishful thinking, I'll go back and research. If there is news from him someday, let me know right away. Zonbin thanked He Lao. Director Zhao over there ran over. Just open your mouth. Master. The disciples bowed. After saying that, you have to kneel. Was quickly picked by Zhao Wenbin's feet with his eyes. Forcefully kicked Director Zhao, who had bent down, right. He gestured to the locust tree not far away. Go ahead. He Lao and I are waiting for you here. Director Zhao walked towards the locust tree, while muttering, isn't it just a beam? Could it be that there are ghosts? Besides, there are Zaven soldiers. The ghosts don't dare to come. I thought to myself, he strode under the locust tree alone. There was just a stone. Director Zhao sat on the spot. It didn't take a few minutes. A breeze blows by the river. Director Zhao was a little sleepy. The figures of the two people not far away began to blur a little. The eyelids kept fighting. After a while, I fell asleep. Zonbing over there looked at Director Zhao under the tree and stared closely. In less than 10 minutes, there was a situation over there. Director Zhao frowned. Steep beads of sweat began to appear on the forehead. His lips were biting hard. It seems to be very uncomfortable. He Lao on the side asked, "What's wrong?" Zhao Wenbin didn't answer either. Just signaled He Lao not to speak. Just look at it. 2 more minutes. Director Zhao's face was already starting to turn blue. His body began to tremble. Zhao Wenbin shook his head. Take out a piece of rune paper. 2 fingers are clamped. Walked over. Take it under the tree. Director Zhao was already panting. The neck is swollen and thick. Zhao Wenbin shook his fingers. The left finger burst into flames. It's not yet time for the ashes to fall to the ground. What's wrong with me? Zhao Wenbin said. It's okay. Director Zhao touched his forehead. Spread your hands. Such cool weather. My back was soaked. It turned out to be a dream. Zhao Wenbin asked. Can you tell me what just happened? Director Zhao looked at the sweat in his hands and muttered. A woman just grabbed me by the neck. I'm going to run out of breath soon. Suddenly I woke up. I saw you, Master, beside me. That's not a dream. Zhao Wenbin sighed. Not a dream. That. Director Zhao looked at Zhao Wenbin incredulously and asked. Zhao Wenbin nodded. That is the spirit of the tree. This tree is extremely shady. He has lived in Wangzhuang for thousands of years. With the river water to breed eagles, presumably there is already spirituality. Recruited a lot of wild ghosts to gather in the children. Where you were just sitting. It's just someone's thigh. If it is a person who is related to the Tao, he will not dare to do so. It can well be imagined. You have nothing to do with me. Let's go back to work. After listening, Director Zhao stood up with a snort. He also understood that what Zhao Wenbin said was true. I was almost going to die under this tree. Maybe I really didn't have it. But he still didn't give up. Then I don't learn the Tao with the Taoist priest. It's just to help run errands and carry things. Feasible. Unexpectedly, Zhao Wenbin was still unbearable. Director Zhao, don't talk about learning the Tao anymore. You have no connection with the word. Follow me sooner or later. You and my friends. I advise Director Zhao. It's better to go back and take care of your official business. Look at the face of Director Zhao. Officialdom room villain. It will be able to rise to the top. There is a lot to be done in the future. Let's talk about it. Walk towards the car parked on the side of the road. In the end, it was He Lao who persuaded Director Zhao to give up. A few years later, Director Zhao is already the head of a provincial transportation department. Responded to Zhao Wenbin's sentence. Before returning to the provincial capital, Zhao Wenbin and his entourage went to Curator Jean first. When Curator Jean saw Zhao Wenbin again, it's already crying without tears. I'm really afraid of this gentleman. After a while, I will figure out some trouble for myself. The 3 of them were not polite. Moved to the office couch. Especially Director Zhao. He stared at Curator Jean with a grin. That looked like a skin-smiling meat doesn't smile. Let Curator Jean not dare to come out. I held it for a long time. I finally couldn't help but speak. Mister. How's going on with Wangzhuang? Zaven's soldier nestled in the corner of the sofa. Stop playing with the lid of the teacup. After you let that driver out, follow you to the intersection where the accident happened on the night of the first 7 days. Prepare 4 pairs of chopsticks. Prepare some food and drinks. Let's make a sacrifice. Use more snacks when burning paper. After speaking, he glanced at the falling slope not far away. He continued to pull up the teacup. Curator Jean glanced in the direction Zhao Wenbin was looking. Naturally understood what he was looking at. Mister, is that okay? Don't go to that hell place anymore. This plane tree, I've already bought it in Cody. It should be there in a few days. Mister, you say they won't. Those who died, will it be looking for you? Director Zhao glared at Chief Jean viciously, scared him out of his glasses. The fat belly also shook. Zhao Wenbin took a bet, glanced at Director Zhao again. After the worship, send that car for scrap. Don't use it anymore. Do more good deeds in the future. You're in the dead man's business. Naturally, you should also accumulate more virtue. It's only good for you. We take our leave. Go ahead. He got up and prepared to go out. Hear this. Pavilion Chief Jean let out a long sigh of relief. Back from Wangzhuang. He hadn't closed his eyes yet. Close your eyes, and you'll see the 4 coffins. I always feel like those wronged ghosts will come to him again. Now I am finally relieved. So he opened the drawer, looked at Zhao Wenbin, who was about to go out, and shouted, Mister, you stay. Zhao Wenbin, who had already stepped out of the door, looked back. I saw that Curator Jean took an envelope on the ground. My husband not only helped me see feng shui for several days. It's hard to pour. Sir was a lifesaver for me. I thought it was a newspaper. Please ask the gentleman to cancel this meeting. Not a tribute. It turned out to be a gift of money. Zhao Wenbin didn't even look at it. If you really want to repay me, just take good care of that ant. That's nature. That's nature. That kid. I will be more attentive than I am to my own children. Please rest assured, sir. It's quiet. In any case, please accept it. Go ahead. Curator Jean took another step forward. I don't want to be waved by Zhao Wenbin's sleeve. Stride away. Zhao Wenbin's words were also heard in the distance. People are here. Wow, look at it now. Only Curator Jean with an envelope in his hand was stunned. Director Zhao drove the bus to the provincial capital. The sky was not dark. The 3 of them went to find a restaurant and had dinner, and then Director Zhao sent He Lao home, and then said goodbye to He Lao Zonbing, and saw that the original warm little home was left alone. Looking at Madame's last battle, He Lao couldn't help but feel a little sad again. Zonbin put incense on Mrs. Wang. A few words of comfort. Only then did He Lao stop his sadness. Zhao Wenbin thought that he had been out for some time. Eating and drinking are all here in He Lao. Although He Lao doesn't mind. But that doesn't mean you don't mind. And refuse to accept money for doing things for others. Zhao Wenbin pondered. I have to find a job myself. I really can't do it. I went out on the street and set up a fortune-telling stall. It's also good to earn money. After thinking about it, I told He Lao about it. Let He Lao take him around the city god temple tomorrow. However, as soon as this idea was spoken, He Lao rejected it. And angry, He Lao said, Wenbin, are you uncomfortable living with me? See me outside. You've done so much to my family and to Wangzhuang. I didn't ask for half a pin. You don't have a clue from what I've done until now. What if they live with me? Besides, I'm alone at home and lonely. You don't have that thought anymore. You're a really capable person. How can you do those things for a living? You can stay here in peace. We worked on that passage together. It's a stall thing. Don't mention it again. Zhao Wenbin was also a 7-foot man when he stood up. Since I was a child, I have never taken advantage of others. It took so much time. I couldn't help it. He Lao said. On the contrary, I feel even more embarrassed and lazy. I'm about to leave. When 2 people are arguing. There was a knock at the door. Go over and open the door and take a look. It turned out to be the old king of the archaeological team, holding braised vegetables in one hand, holding a wine bottle in one hand, laughing at the door. This old king just came back from a pit out of town. Carrying the wine and meat, he went straight over. I didn't say much. The 3 of them drank a little wine on this braised vegetables. Lao Wang listened to He Lao talk about Wangzhuang during the banquet, talking about the ghosts. Lao Wang stared at the boss. He admired Zhao Wanbing even more. Lian went up to toast. The atmosphere has eased considerably. Speaking of Zonbing, he is going out to tell fortunes. Lao Wang also stood up against it. This fairy went out to tell fortunes. It's too compromised. Say nothing and don't agree. Zonbing went to suffer this grievance. The two of them summed it up. An idea came up. The provincial archaeological team lacked a technical advisor. Plainly, it's just one less feng shui gentleman. According to Lao Wang, in recent years, because of the cultural relics craze, there are many large curtain relics in China, all stolen. These ink-stealing land rats. Not only the sense of smell is sensitive, I also know a little bit of feng shui. Often let the old kingdom these go down the archaeological procession. We'll see. And then there's the time of archaeology. Inevitably, something strange will happen. The last time the General Temple was there, I almost lost my name. I want to let Zhao Wenbin go to the archaeological pile and hang up a consultant. One comes. Everyone has a foil together. Zhao Wenbin can find a serious job. Second, what does he mean by that? A lot of things that were lost in antiquity. You can also look in the pits of those ancestors. Maybe you'll be able to find some clues. Zhao Wenbin was afraid that he would cause trouble for the two of them. After all, I have neither education nor archaeology, but it's a good job. Hesitated for a long time. Lao said that he would accompany him to the archaeological team tomorrow. No problem. Zhao Wenbin then nodded and agreed. The three of them saw that the matter was almost settled. Only then did he simply let go of his belly and drank 1,000 cups of confidence for a long time or less. The 2 bottles of red sorghum that Lao Wang brought. It won't take long for it to bottom. I opened another bottle at Lao's. Tossed until midnight. The 3 of them fell asleep. It was a dark night. Zhao Wenbin suddenly heard someone shouting, "Daddy, Daddy." Zhao Wenbin listened carefully. "Daddy, Daddy. I'm so scared. Come and save me. Daddy." Take a closer look. Not far away, there is a building that looks like a large hall. There is a small pond underneath. The moonlight is reflected in the middle of the pond. From time to time, there are circles of water transportation. Scattered the moonlight and gathered it up. Gathered and scattered. It seemed that it was a small hand that broke the moonlight. It's still shaking in the water. The pond doesn't look far away, but he hurried for more than half an hour. No matter how he runs, I found that the pond was still so far away. It seems that it will never run to the edge of the pond. Only the shout. Far and near. But it's clearly audible. Zavenbing shouted at the top of his throat. "Don't be afraid, girl. Daddy is here. Daddy is here." After shouting, he ran towards the pond. Another half hour passed. Still not to the pond. The Zaven soldiers were already sweating profusely. Gasp. I held my legs and wanted to rest for a while. Turn your head and look. A white stone monument was found next to it. Broke a corner. This steel. Isn't it the steel I saw when I opened my eyes just now? Why are you still here? Don't. I ran for an hour. It's about standing still. Zaven soldiers by the moonlight walk slowly towards the steel. The handwriting on the steel has been blurred. Only the lowest abyss can be distinguished. A few of the handwriting up there has been covered in moss. Zhao slowly wrapped the moss on it. One by one, the handwriting is revealed. I want to be the same as the abyss. How could my daughter be here? Looking at the pond not far away, Zaven ran like crazy. Another hour passed. When he stopped again, the steel was found to be still there. The traces of Qingtai's peeling are still as good as new. Here's what's going on. How could my daughter be in Yang Tongyuan? Yang Tongyuan is the 18th layer of hell. It's the infernal hell that suffers from endless fireworks. Why? Why should my daughter suffer and her son? Zhao Wenbin didn't have time to laugh. It wasn't even too late to take another look at the steel. Keep running. Only in that direction. Running endlessly. Daddy. 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 That familiar voice. It still echoes in my ears. Zhao Wenbin couldn't run anymore. Fell headlong in front of the stone monument. When the eyes are closed for a moment, he clearly saw a giant beast stealing iron. Jumped in from the edge of the pond. Straight into the water, waving little hands away. Not far away, the iron thief was holding a little girl in his hand. Leap out of the pond. He looked back at Zonbin, who fell to the ground. Shook off that disgusting ugly face. He seemed to smile slantingly. Walked towards the main hall. A roar. Lao and Lao Wang outside were really startled. Zavenbing wakes up at 5 o'clock on weekdays. Why is it 7 o'clock today? I haven't woken up yet. Lao thought that he had drunk too much wine last night. Is eating green porridge with Lao Wang. I'm going to call him later. Hear the roar. The two rushed in. I saw Zon's soldiers lying down, hands clawed in the air. The brow is furrowed, teeth chattering. Lao saw that the situation was not right. Immediately shouted, "Not good." Lao Wang, pinch people. Lao Wang answered. I just wanted to reach out and pinch it. It's not even to the lips. That hand was pinched by Zavenbing. Lao Wang, why? It turned out that Zavenbing had woken up. I saw Lao Wang's big hand stretched out to his face. A handful of conditioned reflexes were grabbed. It scared us to death. What did you do when you woke up? Had nightmares? Zavenbing shook his head. It's okay. Not much to say, so I got up and went out to wash. Lao Wang still wanted to ask. Was stopped by Lao, shaking his head at him. His hometown is not far from the museum. Let's have breakfast. A few people talked and laughed. What are the old referrals? Zhao Wenbin's formalities. It went very smoothly. Was assigned to Lao Wang's team first. Speaking from outside the team, it can be regarded as a hired technical consultant. You can go to work on the same day. That's it. Zonbin's life. It's a fall. Lao Wang was also quite excited. At noon, he insisted on pulling Zhao Wenbin, go to a restaurant, and have a few drinks. Rejoice. Zhao Wenbin can't shirk it, and they went together. During the banquet, Lao Wang's gallery. Drink a few glasses. I asked. What about the civil soldiers? Why haven't I heard from you? The situation at home. The Zaven soldier over there. Stop the cup in your mouth. Glancing out the window at the West Lake. Turning his head and muttering. Family. There is only one son left. I'm 17 years old and still studying. Everyone saw that Zhao Wenbin's face was wrong. Laojia went up and asked, Wenbin, is there something wrong at home? Here, I raised my glass and poured it down. Squinted and tore it. I don't know if I didn't sleep well last night, or if there was something sad. Zhao Wenbin's eyes were already bloodshot. He left me a son and a daughter. I still haven't been able to take care of it. I'm sorry for his spirit in the sky. Let's talk about it again. The old king over there looked wrong. I wanted to persuade him to drink, but he was stopped by Lao. Shook his head at Lao Wang. Motioned for him to continue. Zhao Wenbing looked out the window at the West Lake, which was already in autumn, and said, "When my wife gave birth to her daughter, the male parteth died. Before dying, the final instruction is, let me take care of these children. Don't want to. Daughter before the new year. Drown. It's knee-deep water." And so it went. It was she who made me pay. It's her. Smack. The wine glass in Zhao Wenbing's hand was crushed. Lao got up and went over to help the scumbag soldiers. "I want to see his hand hurt his eyebrows," was pushed away by the scum soldiers. Zhao Wenbing stood up and shouted, "It's just that I didn't expect it. My daughter has not had peace since she died." You say, "What the hell am I doing wrong? What did you do wrong? You have to push me like that. You have taken my wife and torture my daughter. Why?" Heartrending roars. So that the two people on the opposite side don't know what's going on. I was stunned and didn't know what to do. Lao looked at Lao Wang and asked in a low voice, "What's going on? Who is he?" Lao Wang shook his head and said, "I don't know." That noon, Zhao Wenbin was drunk for the first time. It's really drunk. He needs the anesthesia of alcohol. The last two men carried him. Went to Lao Wang's house to rest. Zhao Wenbin may be really drunk. Or maybe I'm really tired. I slept until the next morning. I just woke up. Said to be an advisor to the archaeological team, but Zhao Wenbing really didn't know anything about archaeology. Fortunately, it has a legitimate identity. All day long, I was on the pedal of that strange text with He Lao. After He Lao flipped through a large amount of information, two words came out of the pedals. Kiyoshi. Kiyoshi. He Lao felt that these two words referred to the name of the place. Asked the Xavian if there is a record of this place. Zavenbing nodded. Qingqing is the word if I guess correctly. When it refers to Qingqing Mountain, it is said that Zhang Daoling and Zhang Tianji had a coincidence. Cruise to this mountain. See the deep cold wall here. Eyelashes preach. Lead up the life. So he went up the mountain to explore. A hole in the dense. In the cave, he realized the doctrine of heaven. This is how the mountain was established. It is the way of the heavenly master who will be famous all over the world in the future. But now, together, they became an orthodox sect. This Qingqing mountain, known as the fifth cave heaven. He Lao nodded. This Qingqing mountain is a famous Taoist mountain. Of course, he also knew. Since the text on the pedal, could it be a clue? The current Qingqing mountain, it's already a tourist attraction. Just buy a ticket. Naturally, you can go up and have a tour. So I asked Zhao Wenbin. What about Wenbin? You said we should go to Sichuan to have a look. That's what Zhao Wenbin meant. Since there are no clues, it's better to go over there and have a look. But now, he's also part of the archaeological team. You can't just go. At this time, Lao Wang came from the outside, ran in a hurry. And Lao Wenbin. It's interesting to get the notification. Let's do one. Archaeological research on religion in China. It is said that it has been on the market for cultural relics for nearly 1,000 years. A religious craze was set off. Quite a few magic weapons. Statue. Classical. Euro. It has become a shampoo in their eyes. Let's form a team. A nationwide survey of religion and culture was conducted. This time when Bin is really a coincidence. You happen to be a Taoist priest. I think we simply choose Taoist studies in this area. You're there anyway. If not, let's just think we're done with it.